nice and muggy today here. I don't know about there.
It's pretty nice. Well, it's going to get muggy. Yesterday was freaking gorgeous. It
Yeah.
didn't get past like 85 or so, and it was just kind of breezy all day. It was really
Ooh, that sounds nice.
one of those beautiful days you get lucky and get every now and then, you know.
Yeah. No, I know those are nice. It's kind of a hit or miss at this point in where I am, but
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I'm
Are
just
you,
listening. What's that?
you're in North Jersey?
Yeah. Uh huh.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm
It's
in
pretty
North
nice
Jersey.
there.
Yeah. No, I mean, I dig it. I don't have a problem with it. It's not like the armpit like most people think. They think of like Newark, like they flying down.
Yeah, New York State is like that. You go upstate out of 100 miles out north of New York City. It's like
Gorgeous.
farms and
Oh
you
yeah.
know, it's like the country.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I tell you what though, I'm noticing just my body is kind of as it's repairing itself. I'm noticing new things happening. Like just little injuries happening as I'm recovering from this. Just dings. My shoulder is definitely a little bit tender. My knees, even though the swelling is going down in my knees, it's just and like the I had like a rash around my knees from just the impact, and also because we were in the brush and there's all those
Right.
critters and creepy crawlies and God knows what. And but yeah, dude, I'm just like I'm like noticing that's like today when I woke up, I reached for something and it was like oh one of
Yeah,
those. Like,
I'm like that every day.
well, when you were training for bodybuilding, when you were well, I mean, but that's kind of a misnomer because just because you weren't training for bodybuilding, you still trained hard.
Oh yeah.
What were some of the most like nagging or reoccurring injuries that you encountered?
Well, later in life, it was my wrist, man.
Right.
That carpal tunnel or whatever it was so annoying.
Yeah.
And I got it fixed, and ever since I got it fixed, I've been having this like almost like a weakness, and I got to use this ball, whatever this thing is, this squishy thing, this
Like
rubber thing.
like a stress ball almost.
Yeah, it's I guess you could call it. It's like a little donut, rubber made out of rubber, and yeah, just that really helps my hand. But so yeah, my hand wrist on the left side has always been a nagging. I've had issues with that since my first motorcycle wreck, but that wasn't directly related to bodybuilding,
Right.
obviously. Um, I never really had any. I never really took it to the point where I was. I guess you can't really say that. I did tear both hamstrings, my rotator cuff, a bicep, and I exploded my patellar tendon. So it wasn't like I'm injury free, but as far as nagging injuries go, like reoccurring, I really didn't have any. My back used to bug me for a while until I started doing hyperextensions religiously. Like my warm up would always every workout. My warm up is hyperextensions and abs,
Mhm.
and maybe a forearm exercise every single time I train. So once I started doing that, my nagging back pains went away.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm trying to think what if I do anything religiously to almost like as a warm up, and I don't. It changes around. I mean, ultimately, I just keep moving until I feel like I can move without like creaking. What's up, Roger? Happy 4th of July, man. Thanks for the comment. But
What my wife made an interesting comment this morning. She goes, "Why is it the 4th of July and not Independence Day?" I go, "Well, it's
yeah,
both." And she goes, "Yeah, but you don't say it's the 14th of February for Valentine's Day, or you don't say it's
yeah.
December 25th for Christmas." So, so what is it? Some kind of anti-American movement afoot to downplay the patriotic nature of Independence Day?
I don't know. I never thought of that. I've always called. It's weird. I don't know why it adopted like July 4th. What are you doing July 4th? You're right. No one's ever like, hey, what are you doing on Like
Independence
February
Day.
14th, yeah, like or Independence Day, yeah. You know why though? Because I feel like when people say Independence Day now, I think of that dumb movie, that big goofy movie from like the 90s. That's it. Yeah,
Or
it's all. Yeah,
Groundhog Day.
Roger's got a good point. He says it's quicker to say Happy Fourth. Yeah, that's true.
That's
I
true.
never.
It is it does have an economy
Oh,
of
but
words.
look, I do have. I am patriotic. Look at this.
Wow. There
Got
you
my,
go.
so I took off my hairy nipple shirt, and now I got my patriotic.
So now that was a dad bod shirt, wasn't it?
I don't know. It was I got it because I wanted to wear it at the Olympia at the booth. I wanted to put on a wig and wear this and do shit with people. Like, what's up, Jace from Arkansas? Welcome. Thank you. I wish I could reply back on Twitter, but I can't. I don't know how it works or why, but every time I try to reply to somebody on Twitter on here, it goes to block. So whatever. Hi there. But yeah, it's I don't know, man. I got like a couple of these because I really did want to wear them. I figured it would be funny to walk around and do like man on the street interviews.
I did this. One thing I used to do all the time back in the day. They used to sell those shirts down at the beach that was like a line drawing of muscles. You know, so like the shirt had the muscles on it. So everybody that wore them didn't have any muscles. They were like fat, doughy people that were tourists that were getting the muscle shirt at Venice Beach. So the most hysterical thing was whenever any of us from the gym wore one, because you take the muscle shirt off and it's the same thing underneath.
Yeah, I wanted to get one of those muscle suits for when I do stuff with Frank or other bodybuilders because I thought it would be funny. Because that's just obviously like my body type is not theirs, right? So it's just funny. Like I wanted to kind of do that so I could fit in a sense. But yeah, that was that. How many podcasts or shows do you do a week? By the way,
but usually about 4.
And do they all bounce
Four
around
to
like?
5.
And do you know what to expect on the other ones? Like, are there
Nope.
some where you're like, oh God, here we go. I'm gonna go get in an argument, or I'm gonna get in I'm gonna start to bicker with people, or is it like you never really know until you fire it up?
Well, the After Hours podcast is always a mixed bag because generally speaking on that show, it's usually it's unruly. Let's put it that way. There's too many. There's a lot of people on it. It's at least 6 people on it, and it just gets a lot of people talking over each other, and none of the strong-willed personalities that we have grouped together are going to stop talking when someone else starts. Right. So you can't interrupt anybody. So it tends to be a free-for-all, but that's a lot of fun, that show. So I never know what to expect. I just know that I'm probably going to get a little aggravated and extremely entertained.
So why is it called After Hours? Is there like, are you talking about things that you don't necessarily talk about on other stuff? Is it more like, I don't know. Like I'm just maybe there's no real reason. Just like maybe we just found a way. I don't know.
Well, it was because the original, we started with one show 15 years ago. And actually it was even longer ago because we were with Muscular Development, we had the Muscle Mob show. So we went on our own, and we had to show Heavy Muscle Radio. Right. And so that was kind of like very inside baseball, inside bodybuilding kind of show. A lot of contest coverage, and Palumbo and I wanted to do a show that was kind of like lighthearted, that was funny and not serious, and where we kind of espouse the antics that people that we're close to are famous for, So we remember Playboy had that. I guess it was Playboy had a show on TV. It was called After Dark, or Playboy Dark or something like that. That's where we got the idea from, was like After Hours, So it was like, it was not the Heavy Muscle Radio show. It was After Hours. It was kind of like a lighter, comical version of what we do. So and it just kind of, it stuck. It just kept growing from there.
Nice. So also pivoting right now, but after our last discussion, thinking about, I want to throw it out there to people, and I'll cut this up because I doubt anybody's even really on today, but I'll cut it up and we'll throw it out to socials. We were talking about the various events that are out there that are like, kind of nutty. You're talking about like the downhill biking, and there's also the other weird stuff that maybe I wouldn't do some of these, where it's like the people just roll down the hill as fast as they can. Like that, if you've never seen that, it's like a huge hill and they roll down it. But I wonder what else is out there that's a little bit different, and or that we're not, noticing, or we're not seeing. Maybe somebody could help us out with that and tell us, point us in the direction to check out some of these new or strange or different events. That would be helpful.
I watched some of it. The reason been watching is I'm looking for that top guy. I want to get him on this show, invite him on. I know he'll do it. He'll hear the word muscle and fitness, and he'll be on in a minute, like everybody else in the world. So I don't think we'll have a problem with that. But I want to get some of these guys on the show and talk about what they do. That downhill, I watched another one last night. It is absolutely, you just get so in it because it's all point of view, like his camera is like on his chin or on his head or something. So you're getting his perspective, flying down these ski slopes, in the snow with a mountain bike. And it's just like, it's nuts. And, they're not just kind of like making it down the hill. They're like flying, man.
Right.
It's crazy. And you're watching these guys and you think, holy shit, he's going so fast and he's passing everybody. And then 3 people zing by him that he's going in reverse, So it's really cool. A lot of those Red Bull or Monster Energy sponsored events are so extreme and really cool, and they're not all of them are. I mean, some of them are trucks jumping, buses, or monster trucks doing flips. I mean, it goes everywhere from athletics to exhibition to, they're into everything. But man, they showcase some really cool stuff, and I want to getting some of those people on here.
Let's do it. I mean, I've been working on a handful of people too. But Roger, High Rocks. I was actually just at the High Rocks event in Lower Manhattan. It was last month. It was my first time seeing it. I didn't get to go to the actual event. I went the day before, and I met with some of the folks that were there, like the people from Center, which is like the Chris Hemsworth fitness app, and they now have equipment. And that was really what I wanted to talk about with them, just the equipment side of things. I'm going to test some of their stuff out. It looks like a lot of fun. I definitely am going to try it. And I want to, it's like you said, there's a whole bunch of different stations, whether it's you're doing a ski erg or you're doing farmer's carries or let's see, rowing. And then you got to do, I think, a 1 kilometer run, in between. And it's pretty cool. It's kind of like Spartan DECA, which is another one I want to try. DECA is their indoor decathlon. And look, I don't think if I went and did these, I'm going to be some impressive, I'm not, like, no scouts are going to be impressed by my time. You know what I mean? So, but it's something different to try. And I do think that because it involves so much variety that there's no way that it would not be beneficial just to test it out.
Yeah. There's so much cool stuff coming out now, that if you think back to some of the equipment that you used to find in a gym back in the, like before you were born, probably, like in the, I remember the first gym I started out in was an old boxing gym, and they had some relic equipment there from the 50s and 60s. And I remember, do you remember that thing? It was like a dome, not a dome, but a barrel shaped device that had these little rollers on it, and you were supposed to roll your fat on the thing. And it was and then they had that machine with the belts, and the belts do
the belts. I know, I always looked at those. I'm like, what are they doing? Because it looks like the people on there are kind of comfortable, enjoying the vibrations. But I'm like, what the hell are you doing there? Hi, Simon Tan. Hello. How you doing? Can't reply on Twitter. Sorry, buddy. All right, a couple of questions for Romano. Well, I guess for both of us, but one is, Dubai Pro, who's going to win, and who's Rami going to pick as his new coach? I said Romano. I don't see how could I be wrong, but maybe you got your ear to the ground and you have your finger on the pulse there. So either of those, we'll start with Rami. Who's he going to pick as a new coach? He has not reached out to you, right? Let's put that to bed.
Yeah, he has not reached out and informed me yet of which coach he's going to use. Which,
his loss.
I wish he would come out and say, I'm not using any coach. I'm going to do this myself, like you should be doing,
Yeah.
So I'm the most anti-coach you'll ever find in the entire world. So I think the whole position is superfluous, and the people who depend on it really, really annoy me. So I'm not going there. I don't care who he picks. I think if he picks anybody, he's stupid.
Okay, so he's better off going alone.
Do it. Look, I have a hard time finding my favorite analogy for this, but bodybuilding requires that you do certain things, okay, and it's pretty clear cut. There's no eating Snickers bar cheesecake while you're getting ready for a bodybuilding contest.
Right.
Okay, so there's that level of common sense, I think, is pretty much pervasive. I don't think you need to think any deeper than that when it comes to getting yourself ready for a bodybuilding contest. It comes down to preserving as much muscle mass as you can while you diet off all the fat. That's pretty much how that's the ultimate, that's the end of it. Now, who's doing that? It's not, you don't enter a Formula One race and have your driving instructor sitting next to you. You do it yourself. Yeah, you have a team, but the team is responsible more for the car. The team is not responsible for you. So you got to do this. But to me, if you're going to be a bodybuilder, you should learn how to be a bodybuilder. So if no one's going to pick the weights up for you and put them back down, then no one should be telling you what food to eat and put it in and out of your mouth. So I just don't think that relying on coaches to the degree that people rely on them today is good. I think it's a shortcut. I think it undermines the difficulty and the technique you need to employ when you get yourself ready. And it's your responsibility as the athlete to get yourself ready for a show, not the coach. Now, a second set of eyes, absolutely. Somebody to bounce ideas off of, absolutely. Someone to just say, "Hey, dude, people are blowing sunshine up your ass. You're behind." So on that level, okay. But as far as the absolute total dependency on a coach, to me is just you should know what to do. That should be part of the game.
Right, but on the other side of that, after you have become so reliant on somebody through most of your career, and I don't know how much he has left in the tank in terms of maybe he's on the back nine of his career. I don't know. But after you've relied on somebody for so long, to walk away from that, I could see that being a huge, blow to confidence. Like, am I going to be able to do this by myself? Because for so long, all I've ever done is, and even when he's winning or was winning, he was with a coach. So I understand,
Right.
I understand what you're saying, where it would be beneficial specifically for the long haul, and you know what to do. You just have to make yourself do it. But to have somebody else kind of there to kick you in the ass when you need it, and I'm putting myself in, I guess, I don't know if this is accurate, so don't sit there and quote me. But if again he walks away and he's like, shit, now what? I know what to do, but how am I gonna make sure that everything's going right?
Yeah, see, it's now again. This is just my opinion, so everybody's going to jump on me.
Yeah, I know.
You're jumping on me for my opinion. I think you should know how to do that. I mean, what other sports can you involve yourself in where you are so coach dependent, where you literally can't even eat a meal unless your coach approves it? So a lot of people think that the coach is just the pharmacist. It's way more than the drugs. So it's your diet, it's your training, it's your recovery, it's your dial in, it's a bunch of shit. So it's all stuff that you should know how to do if you're going to compete.
Yeah.
Period. So if you're going to be a race car driver, you should know how to drive. That's pretty much the way I look at it. So yeah, the other side of that is it's a lot of stuff, but yeah, it's a lot of stuff. Get busy, learn it. I had to learn it. Why can't
Yeah.
you learn it?
I mean, it goes back to because it's hard. People don't want to do hard things, man. I mean, and that's what, that's the way our brains are wired. Humans are, built to find the shortcuts, to find
Yeah.
and look at our lives. Our lives are so cushy that it's when you have to do the hard shit, it's almost like overwhelming because we're just not used to it. It's like,
And generation by generation, we get. I used to say softer. I don't think that's fair. I think
yeah,
it's less self-reliant. So to the point where I know guys that they don't know which end of the hammer to use. I mean, there's
yeah,
basic stuff, especially as a dude, you should know how to do. Change a tire, mow the
right.
lawn. I mean, basic stuff, right? And we don't. No one does anymore. I mean,
It's true.
most people can't even drive a stick shift car anymore. You
Yeah.
know,
Well, it's just
so
because they're gonna rely on humanoid bots to drive them around or like automated
all the
cars.
automatic transmission. I mean, it's like every car is an automatic. No, I mean, there's guys that are trying to get jobs at valets outside of restaurants. If somebody pulls up with a car with a 6-speed, and they're like, well, they don't know how to drive it. You know,
The first time I drove stick was so I took my car was a hand me down from my brother had it first, and I didn't know that he wore the clutch down. So I'm in the car trying to drive to football practice, and nothing's work. Like I'm just like I started it. I was in first gear, and I could not get out. Like I could not pull. So I'm sitting there like vroom, like just constantly revving the engine. It's horrible, and I got so pissed off. I'm like, punching the thing, and I finally pull into a gas station. The dude was like, "Yo." It's like your clutch is gone, bro. I'm like, it is. I was like, he's like, you didn't find it difficult. I'm like, this is literally my first time driving a stick, like driving. Period. So no, it was just funny, but yeah. Happy 4th, Natalia. Hi there.
happy 4th. We were just talking about why we call this day the 4th and not Independence Day. So there's a
Yeah.
perfect example.
Yeah. By the way, you got a big fan in George Galagos. He's got a million questions for you. George, I have feelings too. You can address questions to me. But he says, John, do you believe magazine print is dead? Is there room for a magazine?
No, yeah, it's dead.
It's dead. I mean, you can't even get people to read on the internet anymore. I
No.
mean, that's the other thing. And I'm watching our analytics, and I'll tell you that it's tough out there.
Yeah, man, it's been dead. I mean, it's been dead for a long time.
Yeah. I guess, how do you make money with it, right? Well, there's a couple of ways. Whether you're going to put it out at some trade show and people buy in, and that's part of their sponsorship to buy into the trade show, that's one thing. Still don't see how you make money from it. Or it's just a really niche thing that enough people want to support, or maybe it's just crowd supported. I don't know, but I got to tell you, I did a million calculations as to how we could do this, and I got to tell you, nothing came out. Like it was all a loss.
Yeah, and I mean, there's costs involved in magazine sales that are so protracted. The sell through formula is very difficult with magazines because you don't really know if you come out with an issue and put it on the rack today, it takes like 6 months for
Yeah.
you to know how well that issue sold through, right? Because you're
Yeah.
getting, if it's 7-Eleven, you're at day 31, they take the magazine off the rack, they rip the cover off, they send it back to you, and they don't, they want either a refund or they don't want to get, or they want their bill adjusted. So you've got the protracted, sell-through process. Then you got the fact that costs don't remain static during that 6 months. I mean, the price of shipping goes up, the price of paper goes up, the price of ink goes up, the price of handling goes up. Everything is constantly going up.
Right.
So it's you're going to spend $6, $7, $8 on a magazine when you can get 99% of what's in there free online.
Right.
And
Exactly.
now, today, it's not
Yeah.
a 3-month lead time.
No, and the other side of that, if you don't make any money on subscriptions. Like newsstand sales is the only way to do it. So then you're talking about a whole different beast, because then you have to pay for placement. You have to get it in specific spots. If it's not, you ever notice how a bunch of those are jammed right up at the front of the supermarket by the aisles? Yeah, that's a premium spot. Like that you got to pay for that, and that's another cost. And so it just seemed to me that, and I would look at these, I'd look at sales as well as, for digital as well as print. And I also noticed the divide. The divide started happening where there are two different audiences. One was obviously older, like the print audience, people that still wanted that medium, they're older. Younger people didn't give a shit. Now 90% of our traffic is on mobile, 90%. I mean, that's probably not, it's not isolated. I bet you other people have the same thing, but think about that. This used to just be a paper product, and now 90% of it is just consumed on somebody's telephone, probably while they're on the toilet.
I was going to say that the advent of the device, the phone, the Kindle, whatever. It's like as soon as you could take that into the bathroom with you, that's really when magazines died.
Yeah. Exactly.
But the other thing is with bodybuilding specifically, the magazines were really like the social media, of the time. There was no other means of communicating within our industry other than the magazine. So the rivalries, the contest lead-ups, who's going to win, how does so-and-so look, all of that stuff that we get, in real time, that you guys are all spoiled with in real time today, on social media. We would wait by the mailbox, every month for the magazine to come so that we would find out what's going on,
Yeah.
And man, that's, if there was ever an indication that something has died, that's it, because no one sits by the mailbox anymore waiting for the magazine to come.
Yeah, it's funny. I get 2 magazines because I got them for free when I signed up for something, and one is Food and Wine, and I have no idea. I have zero palate for food or wine. I mean, I'm the most boring eater, and if I'm gonna drink something, I typically just drink IPAs. I don't even drink wine. And then I got Family Handyman. And the only thing that magazine has done is depress me, because I look and see all of these amazing things people are building, and they make it so easy looking. And then I get my stuff out, and it looks like a child's elementary school project. It's so bad. It's so embarrassing. Oh God. But I also don't have a lot of the specialty tools I need to complete some of that stuff, and that's where I'm like, well, I got a tool that does something similar, and then I just use that, and it turns out like a huge piece of shit. So.
The right tool is a game changer when you're doing anything. I'm tooled up. I have a whole entire shop, dedicated to, mechanical stuff, motorcycles, and whatever stuff I'm doing. But I'm tooled up for that. But if I gotta install tile, I'm really good at it. I know how to do it, but then the saw is special, all the little hand tools you need. If you're gonna tile a little backsplash in your kitchen counter, it doesn't pay to go out and buy all that shit for one use, and then then you got to store it somewhere. So,
okay, John, did you have picks for Dubai Pro?
Nope.
Romo Bromo. All right.
Nope. I don't do that.
Well, there you have it. So whatever you say.
I don't pick winners. I'm adamantly against that.
Okay, then we got something else. And listen, thank you, George. Oh, a question for both you guys. That's kind. Is bodybuilding oversaturated with too many classes? It seems like the Open is all that sells tickets. It's a really interesting point, right? I was talking with somebody about this. I think that fitness is, to me, the most impressive thing. And I don't know how well it does. I don't think it does particularly well, but I think that it's crazy athleticism. It's a lot of hopping around, shit that I would wish I could do. Even if I was younger and still had some bend to me, I don't think I could do it. But that to me is the most impressive. And yet, yeah, I don't think it comes. I mean, look at the prize money distribution. That's another way to look at which is most popular, right? And which is actually driving revenue and an audience. So, but also classic physique now. I mean, look at like Chris Bumstead is the most popular person in any roster. So he
in
sells
our entire
tickets.
industry.
Yeah, I mean he moves merchandise. He sells tickets. I mean he's doing pretty well. So, but I don't know. Other than that, that's the thing, John. Do you think if you took away, say they just did a show that was just classic physique and open bodybuilding and didn't have any others, do you think it would really make a difference in terms of audience?
That's that is the biggest point to all this is the audience. And I'll tell you why. I think the novelty, I know the novelty has worn off. And you can tell like this. Back in the Corey Everson era of women's bodybuilding, the Miss Olympia was a standalone event held at Madison Square Garden in the Felt Forum, and it would sell out. You couldn't do that today.
Right.
If you put more money into the show's promotion than the presidential campaign, you will never ever get that again. And who was that audience? There were moms and daughters and normal people that were looking at this new thing that was like really cool. And then it got saturated. Look at what women's bodybuilding has gone through since those days. Okay. I mean, going all the way down to basically disappearing, and then having to be revived by when, Jake Wood took over, thankfully. So the audience changed along with the sport. So it's kind of like I don't think you can criticize one without the other, because literally, I've been there. So, I've been to the Miss Olympia as a standalone event in New York City, and it was amazing. The energy that crowd had for those women on stage was absolutely amazing. You're not going to get that today. So, is it oversaturated? I don't think it's as oversaturated as much as the audience has been really diluted to the you know what I mean?
But I guess why though? Like, why did that happen? Was it because somebody just mentioned like that? Well, there's a lot of classic bodybuilding shows, so it must be worthwhile. But so think of it from a business standpoint. And I just wrote this to somebody in the comments that the more divisions, the more people that can pay to play. Meaning, not everybody's going to be an open bodybuilder, obviously. Like if I were to step on an open bodybuilding stage, it'd be ridiculous. It'd be like, get this child off of here, But another division would be okay, but I can buy into that, and then I have to pay to keep my membership going, and then it's like it's a lot of money. Like the more divisions, the more people can compete, and the more people can pay. So I just don't know if that's actually driving any type of audience. It doesn't appear to in a lot of ways, but maybe I'm wrong.
I think maybe just that there's a certain novelty element to espousing super freakish looking bodies that has just worn off.
Yeah. Do you think, okay, quick bump, does John think women's bodybuilding fans consist of only hardcore schmoes nowadays?
That's a funny question. I have to say I used to think that until I started, spending time with the top women's Olympiad competitors and interviewing them and stuff. And no, it's not. There's a definite appreciation in the audience that watches women's bodybuilding that goes well beyond, the schmo element. So while they're still there, and thankfully so, because they support the division like a lot. and I don't think schmo is a good word anymore. You know, it just has a negative connotation that doesn't belong there because basically you're a fanatical fan if you're considered a schmo. You're a fanatical fan of women's bodybuilding, and women's bodybuilding needs fans like any sport. So
Right.
I wouldn't be throwing mud at who's supporting the element.
That makes sense. But also, okay, when he says schmo, can we define that? Because I've heard that it basically just means like you said, is it like fanboy? Is that it? I don't understand.
It's a fanatical fan. It's
Okay.
I would say that's the best definition of it.
An enthusiast.
Yeah, yeah.
There you go.
Overly enthused enthusiast.
I got it.
Just schmoes have been known to be a little different kind of people, you know, the hardcore ones. So, you know, I think that's unfair to categorize an entire group of people based on the kind of outward appearance of just a few of them. So, but people are cruel, so you got to expect that shit.
Oh, dude, boy, I definitely know how cruel they can be because anytime we put up, a female that has muscle, boy, the vitriol comes out, and it's
incredible, right?
Yeah, and I just don't get it. But it's also, we do get that with other folks too, some personalities. But I guess for me, I'm like, dude, why even take the energy to say something negative like that? Like, oh, it's a man, or look at that, like butterface. It's like all this shit, and I'm like, really? Like that's so horrible. Like,
it is. But I think for a lot of guys making those disingenuous comments about women bodybuilders are doing so out of jealousy because the woman bodybuilder looks way more fit and buffed and toned than he does.
Yeah.
So. I think there's a bit of that too, and you just cannot look at a revered piece of art from any sculptor throughout history, and very very few of them, except for maybe Botero and Botticelli, did artwork with fat people. Usually you see some representation of the human form. It's pretty well, toned. Even the female, subjects. So I think throughout history, our art has paid attention to the human form in terms of its fit human form, not the dad bod human form. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. All right, George. Listen, MVP today. Do you guys think there's too many channels reporting on bodybuilding without any merit or knowledge of the sport? Listen, everybody has a microphone. There's 2 trillion, including this one, 2 trillion podcasts. And everybody's got a microphone and a bullhorn to get out there and say whatever they want. And the thing is, a lot of people do it and they find an audience and they can monetize it. So then that's how the ball gets rolling, right? You see somebody else doing it. Oh, they're making money. I want to do it too. And all it is you said it. It can be opinions. You could have no connection to anything. If you find the right audience, or you're entertaining, or you do something different, or something that just hits at the right place, right time, dude, I get it. It's you go for it.
Yeah, it's I've been podcasting for over 15 years. Okay, and during that time, I've seen podcasts, obviously come and go, but I've also seen podcasts come out of nowhere and just blow me out of the water, in just a few months versus, the years that we've put into, building an audience. So I don't know how much of that is fake. I'm sure some of it is, but overall, that question of what's going to make something a hit is so indefinable.
Mm-hmm.
And becomes a matter of tremendous frustration for some of us.
Yeah, it's also that. Yeah, hi Irene. I survived. I was 36 hours and I got eliminated. But don't you worry, I'll be back to suffer more. Now I lost my train of thought. But oh
Well,
yeah,
no,
so
I'm
but
glad
the
she
other thing
asked
is,
that. 'Cause
oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I wanted to say that, when you talk about that stuff being fake, that's another thing. A lot of times, what all this becomes is a piece of the puzzle for somebody else in a plan to do something bigger. Meaning, they'll buy followers, they'll make it look like they have a presence, and some people are just gullible and believe it. Oh
Yeah.
wow, look at that many numbers next to their name, and it could just all be bots. It could all be
Yeah.
garbage. But
Yep.
you know how many times that I've had internally, since I've been here, oh, this person has this many, and I'm like, so what? Like, look at their page. It's bullshit. It's not real.
Right? Yeah. I
There's
mean, how
no
can you have
interaction.
7 million followers and you put up a picture and you get 4 likes? It's the math doesn't work.
Yeah, uh, yeah,
I remember when I first discovered that you could buy likes, or you could buy eyeballs, and the whole outlook of what I was looking at changed, because I would think all of a sudden I realized, oh my god, half of this shit is fake.
yeah.
you know,
Look, I'll be the first to tell you. I know for a fact some of our channels have been hit with bots. We never paid for that, but we've looked into it, and there's nothing we can do about it now. I don't know how you even scrub them, but it's annoying because it's like it does skew stats, and it makes things more difficult, especially when you are. And that is something that we're actively trying to do, is reach an audience, and that audience can be, like this audience is obviously very bodybuilding centric.
Right.
A lot of the other things that we do are not. So, we do want to hit those other areas as well, but it makes it difficult because sometimes when we have to dig through all this data, and it's like, yeah, it's not really that accurate if half these people are not real people, if they're just like fake. Have you ever heard of the dead internet theory?
no.
The dead internet theory, and correct me if I'm wrong, somebody, or if I mix it up, but that essentially the internet is more bots than actual people. So posts, comments, all the things people are saying are done just by bots, and it's not real. That's nuts. I mean, here's the thing. Like 10 years ago, I'd be like, oh man, that's so dumb. But now I'm like, I don't know. It's probably not. Like, it's probably right. Like, nothing's real. Everything's a work. Like,
Yeah, there's so many realizations you get doing this that are like, oh man, really?
I will tell you this. So last night, I tied one on by mistake. I just fucking got kind of hammered. So,
You're not
because I was
alone.
like, I'm going to relax. And yeah, now today, it's like, I feel like I got hit by a bus. And it's weird because I was so good afterwards. Like, nothing was, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to kick back and relax. And now I'm just paying for it, man. Oy.
I'm in the same boat, Zach.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, so now, yeah, you got to check if the music is made by an artist or not. Yeah, well, dude, there's so many different, platforms and software now that you can go in. I went into one and I typed a band that I like, and it spit out an AI version of a song that sounded like something that they would come up
Oh,
with.
really?
Yeah, and but it's it's not copyright because the copyright is removed because I think they already ruled so far that you can't copyright any AI created things because it's not a human didn't do it, even though
Not real.
all of
yeah.
our work trained it. And even now, like everything we've ever written or said or any media or creativity we've dumped on the internet is just going to be devoured by AI and run a lot of people out of work. Boy, we really turned down a nice glossy happy hole there, didn't we? Just of depravity and like our AI overlords just crushing our souls and spirit.
Yeah, then they get really good at it.
I know, yeah. Somebody actually, but I will say somebody gave you a shout out on here, John. I'll find it. Jennifer Robertson said, thanks again, John, for mentioning 75 hard. I'm on day 53 and I'm 13 and a half pounds down. The program changed my life. So yeah, big ups to you.
Yeah, man, don't quit. It's just it's a grind. It's a definite grind, and after, I would say that after that first third is gone, that the second two thirds is way more difficult. But on one hand, it's way more difficult. On the other hand, it's almost makes it easier. So that's great to hear. You're almost done. You're on the home stretch. So day 50, 54, she said.
Yeah, I think so. 53,
Yeah,
54.
that's awesome. Yeah, just hang in there. You're gonna feel so good when it's over. You really are. And then you're gonna say, "What do I do now?"
Well, it's funny because the part that would bother me about this, and we've talked about it, right, is that it's the pictures, the selfies you got to take for the 75 hard challenge every day.
That's right.
And here's how I know that I'd have an issue with it, because after Death Race, I showered, I took a nap, and I realized it was a day and a half, 2 days, and I got home that I hadn't even looked at myself in a mirror. Like I hadn't even seen myself, and because I was like, I would check myself for ticks and stuff, but I'd never really looked. And when I did, I was like, dude, my face was pretty gaunt. Like I dropped a good amount of weight. So it was, but yeah, that's having to look at myself every day. That would be rough.
And take a picture of yourself, no less. Yeah, that part to me got really, it's part of the deal, and I understand why from the mental aspect of it, but the vanity aspect of it was just a little over the top for me. So, it is what it is. But yeah. I mean, when you line up the picture from day 1 to day 75, though, that's pretty cool. Yeah, the difference is amazing.
Let's see here. Free weights versus machines. Well, George, is funny because we talked about this, how John and Frank, who is normally with us today, he had to run an errand. He Smith machine is their go-to machine. That is what they use more than anything. And it's funny because I don't have a Smith machine, but I never thought about the versatility until you guys started really talking about it. And I would absolutely, next time I run into one, I'm totally going to use it. So.
Yeah, make sure it's a good counterbalanced one, because the bar should weigh 0.
What's up, Over the Rogue? Hi, John. Hey, what about hi, Zach, Over the Rogue? What's going on? Do I not? Sheesh. I get it. I'm not as popular as John. I understand. Boy, but sheesh, you could say hi. No. What did you think of the live training between Lunsford, Walker, and Sampson with Cormier training them? It seemed blah compared to the 80s with Haney and Christian banter. Did you see it? I didn't see it.
I saw a speck of it, just a clip. Yeah, I'm going to say I know all those guys and like them a lot. I would just say that training intensity is a hard thing to capture and make it look real. And you really have to do the workout. You can't fake it. It's like fake plates are about as far as you can go with that. At some point, if you're going to try to espouse, I guess one thing about entertainment is you have to be extra, out there when you're filming something. So it's like, if you're an MC or if you're on a show or whatever, your level has to be way up here, because it doesn't translate. Otherwise, you sound blah and boring and dull on the finished product. So you'd have to get the real feeling of a training video. You'd have to like really train. And I think the only one out there that ever really hit the mark was Dorian Yates's Blood and Guts, or I think it was Blood and Guts or Warrior Training or whatever. It was him and Leroy. What's his name? I'll think of it in a minute. Another British big ass bodybuilder dude, and that you felt it. I mean, that was a training video that you could feel. So I'm not going to knock these guys for trying. I just didn't think it came out good.
Yeah, and look, you don't know until you try, right? So that's one thing. But John's right.
Leroy Davis. That was it. Leroy Davis.
And the other thing is, I didn't see how it was filmed or anything like that. And maybe it was just on an iPhone, in which case it's fine. But when you're doing an actual shoot where you're lighting stuff and things like that, you have to be methodical and strategize, because especially if you're in a gym with other folks and there's other people there, you have to work around them. So you can't just set everything up. So again, I didn't see it. I don't know, but there's a major difference too. Plus, if it looks like it was shot on a potato and it's like, and you can't hear anything and you can't see anything, then it just, it's not going to be as impactful as you want it to be.
Exactly.
All right, D Post has a question for you. Fine, D Post. Listen, now, having been in bodybuilding for decades, how do you feel about social media influencers prioritizing aesthetics over performance and integrity? Do you think the trend is degrading to bodybuilding's core values and affecting the young athletes who look up to them? That was very well put, sir.
That was very eloquent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think so. I just, I don't know. I mean, that's a good question. That's a good question to ponder. What do you think?
I think that I understand what they're talking about, but it's always been there, right? It's just more accessible now because everybody on social media, it's filters, it's things are, you know what I mean? It's not like you're seeing what's real. And that's why we always try to talk to people about that what you see is a highlight reel. It's the best of the best, right? That's what you put it out there for. And a lot of times, people they're playing a character, they're bullshitting, they'll tell you whatever they want to because they're likely trying to sell you something, or at least use that support to get something else out of it, if that makes sense. So it's a branding tool.
It does, but there's two sides to it, and that's kind of where I get stuck. Okay, so you have a guy like C-Bomb, okay, the ultimate influencer if there ever was one, right? With 22 million followers or whatever crazy number it's up to now. Okay, he is a legit example of who has the right to be that popular. He just is. Okay, so for whatever reason, whatever algorithm brought him there, that's just the fact. So he is a legit influencer, and versus someone else, that's just not there. So they don't have the competitive cred, they don't have the notoriety, they don't have anything notable that they've done. They're just looking for attention. And so they'll do kind of wacky things to get that attention. They start getting a following. The following starts growing. And then all of a sudden they have all these followers and they have absolutely almost zero, credibility to offer. So it's two-sided. On one hand, you get influencers that shouldn't be influencers. And on the other side, you get influencers that definitely have the right to be influencers. I don't know why it's so easy to straddle it. It's just kind of one of those.
But that's always been there, right? Because think about this. It's like Michael Jordan drinks Gatorade. So every kid in the world, in the 90s is like, holy shit, I need Gatorade to perform at my best because Michael Jordan. Who even knows if he really enjoyed Gatorade? You know what I mean? Like there was a time, now that I could say it was a shoot we did with Dexter Jackson, and it was pretty funny. Because I forget I think it was Muscle Tech. It was a shoot sponsored by them. And he had to get a shot of him drinking this Muscle Tech stuff. And the minute we got the shot, spits it out. And then he took the entire, and it was hundreds and hundreds of dollars of a shipment, and just gave it to the gym. He's like, I'll never touch this stuff. He's like, it's gross. But it just goes to show that it's not uncommon, man. People are, when you're paid to do something, sometimes you just do it, even if you're not really 100%. How many people on TV are doing or podcasting, do live reads of whatever service or software or product. They they might think it's a huge piece of garbage, but it's part of the job, and you got to do what you got to do to keep the lights on. So I understand that, but look, it's also, going back to that original question, if these folks are real, they're going to realize that hard work, you can't replace it, and you're going to have to go do it, and it's going to suck. And you better start to learn to find some enjoyment in that shittiness, because it never goes away if you want to be a success in something, and whether it's weightlifting or anything else.
Right. And if you have a point of difference, some kind of, uniqueness to what you're doing. And, throughout our history, we've had, unique people make kind of like a name for themselves just over their image. Like the Barbarian Brothers are a great example. You know,
Mhm.
they were a mainstay at Gold's Gym throughout the 80s and the 90s, and they just were different. You know, they
Mhm.
dressed like lumberjacks. They were these huge. They were twins. They looked, you know, like nobody else. So if social media had been around then, those guys would have been superstars. You
Yeah.
know, on social media. So you know there is an element of uniqueness that you can get ferreted out within the confines of social media, but at the same time you're getting a lot of fluff, and it'll weed itself out eventually, but during the process you're faced with it. You know, it's like get out of
Yeah.
my get off of my screen kind of thing.
And the other difference is that, you know, as this has evolved and now everyone has the ability to create content and get it out instantly, or if not stream it live for thousands or however many people, you start to think about ways in which you can, you know, everything's contrived, right? Everything is thought up. It's not to have something organic is like, it's great. It's hard because especially if you're a influencer or whatever, you have to put out content, a lot of it, consistently, and that means you're constantly having to brainstorm things to do. What's going to be different? What's going to be funny? What's going to get the audience to engage? What's going to bother people? What's not? And it's a job. So to do it right, it's a job. And I don't know how many people have like teams or help with it, but boy, I got to tell you, I don't post anything because I forget. If I had somebody to help me with it, oh my God. And I have so much stuff I could post that's just work related, just stuff that we're doing that I find interesting and maybe other people would too. Not necessarily about me, but just in general. And yeah, I don't know. Do I think I think social media has already been proven to be have a negative impact on people. Like the studies have shown that it really does F people up because we get this warped idea of what things should be based on what we see. It's like not everybody is you'd be surprised that some of these people that you see on there with like the most amazing, like eye-pleasing physiques are probably normal people that are just living vicariously through AI and avatars.
Yeah. Wow. I'm so interested in to see how this is going to be affected as more or as AI becomes more pervasive in our lives and in our, you know, our pursuits online, because even now I can't even tell you how many commercials I hear on YouTube that are AI Joe Rogan voices, and they're selling. I don't even know how they get away with it. I mean, it's Joe Rogan's voice, and he's hawking some product that I'm sure he's never even seen before, and it's not even him. It's AI. It's an AI voice, and I think we've become so detached from the reality of the voice or the image belonging to the actual person it's supposed to be. It's like you go to Vegas and you got Gordon Ramsay's restaurant, right? Gordon Ramsay's burger restaurant, Gordon Ramsay's steakhouse. I ate at the steakhouse. I guarantee you Gordon Ramsay has never been there. Not one time. Ever. It sucked. It was so bad that, you know, there's no way he was here. There's just no way, you know. So, I mean, but it becomes okay with people because it was Gordon Ramsay was almost like a paint job. You know, it had nothing to do with, you know, the rest. It just made it look good, you know.
It's a brand.
So it's a brand.
That's it. Yeah, I went to one of his restaurants, and this is back a long time ago when I was still living in LA, and I'm an idiot. I brought my now wife. We were on a date for Valentine's Day, and I go, okay, I'm gonna get the I got some seafood dish, and I don't even eat seafood. I had like 2 bites, and I'm like, I hate this. Like, what am I doing? But it looked good. It sounded good. And that's what she got. So I'm like, you know, I'm going to get that too. She's like, really? You don't really like this? And I'm like, what do you know? Like, I took 2 bites and I was like, what a waste of money.
What do you know?
Yeah, like, what a waste of money. Oh, man. What an idiot. It's like I could have just gotten like a like freaking grilled cheese, and that would have been better. At least I would have eaten it.
Chicken quesadilla.
Overpriced, but yeah. Look, we've gone on. We've yammered for an hour. This is a good one.
Wow.
Look for a Independence Day.
Yep.
For an Independence Day live broadcast on the internets, and the Twitter was, and the Facebooks and the MySpaces. But look, we'll wrap it up, and we'll come back Tuesday, and it'll just be the time of our lives. And man, thanks everybody for the comments. Have a safe Independence Day / July 4th. Not your typical comment is here. I like that.
Everybody
I like that
make sure this evening when you're playing with fireworks that not one time do the fingers leave the hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, be
Wow,
careful.
that name is amazing, by the way. Not your typical comment. I dig that name.
What's the name?
The name is Not Your Typical Comment. That's a company I like the name. But
That's cool.
yeah, I agree. Quick Pump. That's the idea too. Is to the people that develop and they have some sort of they have some sort of moral compass or something or some value to their brand, which is themselves. And yeah, either way, we'll pick that up another time. All right, but you know what? Not your typical comment. Come back, dude. Or you know what? Share this or like it or do something. Like, come on, you know. I'm not asking too much. And John's asking you to do it. Well, we'll come back Tuesday. We're here Tuesday at, I think we're going to try 9:30.
Are we going to keep that up, that hour?
I don't know. Does that bother you?
It kind of does.
We don't have to. We could test it out. We just wanted to see if we would get.
If we wanted to get more people. All right.
Yeah,
well,
testing it out on a holiday is not a great idea. But
no.
But
we did it yesterday too. Not yesterday, but
Tuesday. Yeah, this is kind of a wonky week because a lot of people are kind of in and out. They're where they want to be. You know, they're traveling. But we'll see. We're going to test it out and see if it helps. But in the meantime, that you guys can help us. All we ask is that you just like this or comment or do something or tell somebody about it. Even if even if it's like a person that has a beard fetish. Look, I got a beard. Like, just tell them to come watch it. John too. Or our caps. We're caps, no caps. You see that? All right. Anyway, time to go. See everybody on Tuesday. Have a safe holiday. Bye.